Good morning. Well, good afternoon, really. We're at 3:47 here. So, something I have been experiencing uh, quite a bit in the last few days is, the inability for people to communicate. That I had a meeting with a friend of mine who has also been instrumental in developing out the company Livish and connecting me to opportunities, etc. Guy who's been a mentor to me has, you know, built, bought, sold multi-million-dollar companies, several of them, and has just been really instrumental in helping me move forward and grow as a business person and an individual. And, he had set me up with a client that was after some business development on some larger contracts, 20 to $100 million contracts, and a lot of this focused around the vertical of construction and GCs and fulfilling the needs of those GCs for large projects. And so we sat down yesterday and had a discussion, and basically he came to me. I hadn't heard anything back after the original response to my email and sending them my contract, my sales contract for Livish, which is the agreement that I send out before I start any endeavor with a customer in regards to my sales company. And it 100% protects me, and it could be a lot more aggressive. It's not, but simply is just very clear on defining what is expected, what the pay will be, what dictates payment, and then the timeline in which those payments are made, by who, to who, and how to. And so it's a pretty simple contract, but I sent it to him, and I sent it to him after I read his contract. And this guy's been very successful in a referral-based business, connecting opportunities with people who are seeking that value from one business to another. He's done really well with that, but his contract is very, very loose. And it's probably served him well for people wanting to engage him because he doesn't charge people unless there's a transaction made. Well, neither do I. The verbiage in my contract is just very clear and specific. You get burnt a couple times, especially to the tune of over $1 million. You make sure that the verbiage is very clear so that there's no miscommunication on where we stand about my duties, my responsibilities, and then how I'm getting paid. And so the guy just never called me back, never responded. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just give it some time, no big deal. I'm not going to chase somebody for a sales contract. You came to me because you need me to sell for you. And so I just let it be, and I met with my friend yesterday, and he was a part of that conversation, and basically just said to me that the other person, the other business owner, was intimidated by that, and I don't know if intimidated is the right word, but basically was just set aback with that because it caused him to really think about his business, and it would hold him accountable to the penny, to the day, to the detail. In whatever contract we engage in. And so he was going to have to up his game. And so he was going to have to come back with a very clear response as far as what our relationship was. And I looked at my friend and I said, good. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. And this is what he told me. He's like, well, he just kind of, was put back. He's like, I'm going to have to do all this work, etc. Well, if you have to do all that kind of work, then you aren't clear with what you're doing yourself. And so to me, that's obviously hesitation there. Like, you need to figure out what it is that you want and what you're willing to pay for and what that business model looks like. And so, the guy just didn't want to call me back because he was put off or whatever it was, or challenged in some kind of way because of the level of clarity and security in my sales contract. And then several of the questions I asked was, what does our relationship look like? What specifically do you want me to do? What does that entail? When do you want me to have it done by? Is there a dollar expectation, a client number expectation, a vertical expectation? What specifically is it? And so those are really simple clarity questions. But for someone who is unclear, that can be extremely overwhelming. And those questions could have been answered by pretty much anyone who's been in business for a while. So I think there are some things to do for him as well. But the reason of this video, and I'll finish up here with, it's the inability or the unwillingness for people to communicate is why people fail. why projects never get done, while dreams never get realized, while money never gets earned, and progress just never happens. And what happens is a lot of confusion and animosity and hesitation happens around these things because all he would have had to do was pick up the phone right away and say, hey, man, I was reviewing this contract and here's where I'm at. There's a lot of very strong legal verbiage in here, and I just want to make sure what it is you intend to mean with this legal verbiage. And this is what I was really expecting, or XYZ, whatever it is. Just call back and say, hey, man, let's get in an open line of communication so that we can be on the same page. This is a lost understanding in today's age. Communication has gone the way of the dodo. People want to shoot brief text messages without context, without emotion, without inflection, without body language. So there's a lot of miscommunication there. They want to send emails. And the biggest issue is that communication has to have. I need to be able to communicate with my clients or my prospective clients, or potentially a strategic alignment partner, someone that I'm going to do business with. I have to be on an open level of communication, even when that communication is tough. And if somebody calls me and says, hey, man, I'm having a hard time with what you just sent me, I'd really like to be clear on that, I would appreciate that more than, hey, I'm just going to back off of it, because what that tells me is you're not ready to move forward. You're also not committed in your endeavor to hire someone to achieve the objective for you. And maybe it's because, one, you're not ready, which that was pretty clear in this, but two, you're just not clear. You don't really know what you want. Well, that's why I'm a professional. Call me. Let's talk it out. Maybe we together can clarify exactly what it is that you need and how I can be of value to you. But if you never get to that point, you're always waiting to hear somebody say the right thing. And just because somebody says the right thing doesn't mean they know how to do the job that you want the right way, and they're going to get those results. So just remember that when you have a question, just reach out to somebody. Even if it's a tough question, even if you're scared to hear the answer, that's exactly when you reach out, because we assume what that answer is going to be, and so then we never really know. And the only way that we can productively and efficiently and effectively move forward in this life, whether that be personally, professionally, is to have clear communication on what things are, what they is, right? What is it that we're doing, and what do we want to accomplish together, and then what are the details of that relationship. And once you figure that out, you can run forward. That's the hard part. The hard part about it for most people, because they don't want to communicate and they don't want to hear feedback that doesn't suit them. And the problem is, that's the stuff that you have to get ironed out right up front. Otherwise, that leads to bad relationships, miscommunications, and poor endings to relationships, and whatever that be, personally or professionally. So pull your gut out of your stomach, grow some nuts, and communicate with people, okay? Communicate with people about the things that need to be communicated with, and ask tough questions. If they can't answer those, you already know your answer. If someone can't clearly communicate back with you and answer the questions that you have to help you have a better understanding of what this looks like, then you don't want to be in a relationship with that person anyway. But don't be afraid to ask the questions. The questions are what get you the answers, and the answers are what get you direction and clarity, and ultimately that will lead you to progress and productivity and efficiency, and ultimately and hopefully lots of fucking money. Stay lavish, guys.